Good evening. We want to call to order the Niskuna Taskforce on Racial Equity and Justice. I want to thank everyone for coming. And the first thing we want to do is to do a roll call for the record. Uh, Please say present if your name is called. When your name is called. Angela, Arinka,
Here.
Aya, Cobra, Doc, I'm here. Liz, Hayden,
Present.
Jamie,
Present.
Jocelyn.
Present.
Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes, you did.
All right, I'm getting better. John,
Present.
Kay,
Present.
Pretty,
Present.
Sabrina,
Present.
Sandra.
Present.
Okay. And I don't think we have any interns here. So
You didn't call me.
wait a minute. Did I skip your? I sure did. Please forgive me. David.
Present.
I tell you, I always say I'm a 20th century man trying to make it in the 21st. So I can always blame it on age. All right. Okay. We want to go ahead on and take a moment and look at the minutes that are attached to the agenda. So everyone has a copy of the agenda? Okay, and those of you who are online, hopefully you have an email, you were emailed the copy. If you just take a moment and review those. First, we'll take them systematically. First, let's go ahead on and review the 8/31/21 minutes. Let's take a couple minutes and do that silently, and then I'll call for the vote for approval.
Just to correct you, are you talking about August or are you talking about September?
First, we're talking about August.
Okay.
Thank you for that clarification.
Just be aware, those that are in the gallery, if you have to go to a microphone or sit in front of a microphone, otherwise those that are remote can't hear you.
Okay. Are there any questions relative to the August minutes? Can we have a motion to accept the minutes as presented?
I'll motion to accept the minutes.
Can we get a second?
Second that.
Excellent.
Second that.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly seconded that we accept the uh, August minutes as presented. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. All right. I'll let the record show that the vote was unanimous. Now, please, let's take a couple of minutes and review the September minutes, okay? Okay. Are there any questions relative to the September minutes? Hearing none. Can we entertain a motion?
I will
Motion.
motion.
Can we get a second?
I second.
All right, it's moved and properly seconded that we accept the September minutes as presented. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Again, let the record reflect that the September minutes were unanimously accepted. Thank you very much for your vote. The next item is a follow-up on the Nixon Peabody investigation recommendations. First of all, there was some discussion, a question at the last meeting about the possibility of getting the full report. We received an email from Attorney Paul Briggs, who laid out in considerable detail the reason as to why that would not be appropriate. Has to do certainly not only with confidentiality issues and also some legal issues. We just got this email just this afternoon, and I sent that to John, and he's forwarded that to you. We could do one or two things. If there are no further questions, we can certainly move on. If if there are some questions, I would say that we can take a couple minutes. If you can read that, if it should be on your phone or certainly if you have your computer on your email, if you want a second to read that, then that's perfectly fine. But in sum, there are 2 points. One, again, the confidentiality for employees, and also there are some legal issues. And for that reason, the full report will not be released. So, are there any questions relative to this matter? Okay.
Questions in terms of the report itself
Any-
or the
any-
request?
No, any questions relative to the response that Lawyer Briggs provided to us from our last inquiry from last month? Do you need a second to look that over?
Yeah, we just got the email.
Sure, go ahead. Let's take a moment. Parenthetically, I think the next time we might want to, I don't know if the town could do this, but it'd be nice to have some water.
Two questions. One, is there a time limit on the confidentiality or the legal matters involved? And two, could we receive a report that was didactic? Those are my two questions. I don't think you can answer them. Those are my two questions I'm posing.
Lawyer Briggs, you're on the line there. Can you respond to that, please?
Yes, the report, what the town did disclose was the executive summary of the report, which did not provide the details of all the different investigations of the various employees, but there is no time frame. The report will be confidential going forward.
Thank you. Are there any other? I'm sorry.
Sandra has a second question. If there is a possibility to get a redacted copy of the report?
No, it would be almost impossible to redact. The report's 300 to 400 pages long, and you'd have to redact most all the pages because it goes in detail and discusses interviews with, I think, 30 to 40 employees. And that's the information that is always kept confidential because of the nature of any internal investigation of this, so that the employees can be frank with the with the investigator. Otherwise, they won't be. So no, a redacted copy is not available.
Well, I understand the issues, but the fact is in small towns to be often.
I'm not hearing this well.
Oh, thank you. Okay, I was just curious. I know that there are concerns about litigation. Also, in small towns, it's not uncommon for anything to be leaked, and which it has. The parts of the report have been leaked. How does that protect against litigation when several parts of the report have been produced and you can see it elsewhere, but not officially through the town?
And
Well, it's unfortunate that it is leaked. The only people that had access to this was the town board members and the present town board members and a former town board member. And I don't know who leaked it. It was improper, whoever did. But to answer your question, the fact that it was leaked doesn't change the confidential nature of it. Obviously, if someone sued us, they're going to say that it's in the public domain and try to use it. We would argue that it's not admissible based on attorney-client work product. So it would come down to admissibility in a courtroom.
So can you help? I think I turned it off. So can you help me understand then the point of this task force in regard to incidents that happen within the community, specifically within the town system, the town itself? Where is the transparency of the town, especially to this task force, not necessarily to the community, but to the task force itself? And what is the point of having us here then to recognize the places where equity and inclusion need to happen, especially regarding racial issues? This was a report done via public money, and we are a public part of the town to understand. We are a task force set about to understand these types of incidents. So why is this not being made available to us? I understand not making it available to the public at large. I get that, litigation, whatever that might be. But then what is the point of us being here is the question.
I don't quite understand your question.
So if we're not going to make things transparent to a task force that's looking at these types of incidents within the town, and we're not being given the means by which to truly see what happened within the town, how can we do what we're set forth to do if you're not providing us the means by which to do that?
So I've been the town attorney in a town attorney's office for 30 plus years. I can't count the number of employee complaint investigations I've conducted. None of them are public. You
And
can't.
all paid for through public funds.
Well, of course, everybody's paid through public funds. But that's not a determining factor. The determining factor is we have to protect the privacy of our employees. They have that expectation of privacy. That's why you'll have to work from the executive summary. We never disclose internal investigative reports. If we did, then employees wouldn't talk to us.
Well, I just like to say that the leadership group met and we had solicited questions from the entire task force and looked those over, and we've come to the conclusion that what I will do as a chair, I will go to the town board meeting on Thursday and to offer our assistance in the town's responding and certainly implementing some of the recommendations, not all the recommendations, offer our assistance. One of the things that is very important that that we establish is that we have a partnership with the town, and not an adversarial relationship with the town. Our goal is to help Niskuna move forward and to be a better place for all persons, irrespective of their racial, ethnic, or other socio-demographic characteristics. And so we want to assist the town. So I'll go there with to offer the town our assistance if in fact there are challenges that they're having in terms of meeting those recommendations. I think that that would be appropriate, and we can certainly do that based upon the executive summary that's been provided. Um, and hopefully, I hope that the response is that they actually have already accomplished those recommendations and established whatever policies and procedures. But if in fact there is need, because I believe this report was actually done back in earlier, like January or something like that, I want to make sure that at least the town knows that we're offering our assistance so that we all can move forward. Okay. And that's the approach I think we'll take as a positive approach. And it's an approach that really will allow us to serve the town in our stated mission. Any questions, comments? I'll even take another testimonial on that. Yes.
This is John. I have one question. Paul, just a follow-up. You mentioned the executive summary to the Nixon Peabody report is available. Are you referring to the 4-page memo that we got, or is there a different document that's actually the executive summary? Because the 4-page document we got is a summary written by the town. It's not the executive summary for the actual report.
No, that's the document that was released. There's nothing else.
Okay, all right. So just to clarify, then it's not actually the executive summary of the Nixon Peabody report written by Nixon Peabody. It's a 4-page summary written by the town board. Is that correct?
It's terminology, John. We've called it an executive summary, so it's the summary of the report. Whether you call it an executive summary or the town board summary, but it's a summary of the report.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Are there any other questions on this matter? All right. So since this is not an action item, then I believe we can just move on to the next item. Thank you, Lawyer Briggs, for your assistance here. All right. Annual Outcomes Working Group. Is Angela here? Is she on the, okay. Did Angela forward a report, John? All right. Okay. That being the case, we'll move on. Let's move on to the working group reports. First up is public safety. John?
Okay, thank you. I'll make my comments brief. We met as a public safety working group last week. We had a good discussion with our group around what are going to be our priorities for the next year. We agree that we're going to focus on the police reform collaborative report, which was drafted by the town in response to Executive Order 203. And we're going to build some mechanisms to help track the town's progress on implementation of the recommendations contained in that report. So look forward to more progress from us on that count. We're going to break up the recommendations into subgroups and see who's interested in different subgroups, and have different people in our working group kind of focus on the areas that interest them the most. I also had a chance to attend the Police Reform Implementation Task Force meeting also last week, and that was also a very good discussion. And that's the group that's going to move forward for the town to actually implement the recommendations, both in the police collaborative report as well as the CNA report. And that's a separate group, also called the task force. And I had a chance to attend their meeting as well.
Thank you, John. Any questions for John?
John, what does this mean for the future of the public safety work group of this task force?
It's a good question. So the towns develop or organizing a brand new task force, right, called the Police Reform Implementation Task Force. So their job is to look at the right recommendations that are in these reports and implement them. I think the Public Safety Working Group, as part of this task force, would continue to watch, monitor, track the progress that other group achieves in implementation of the recommendations. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you again, John. All right, next, the Community Service Working Group. Liz?
I don't think Liz is
Yeah,
here,
Liz
Liz isn't
is
here?
not here.
so I will take this one, Doc,
All right,
if I may,
sure.
please.
Go ahead,
Thank you.
Dave.
So per our meeting of September, we realized that we had some difficulty in relaying some of our requests to the town and Attorney Briggs. I do believe that has been remedied. Those questions, the document pertaining to the senior senator and community programs, and more particularly the youth summer employment program, have been forwarded to Attorney Briggs and the town, and we are still awaiting some clarification and some responses to the questions that were included in that document. It's a Google Doc, actually. While we have some responses from the folks that actually supervise those programs, the youth summer employment program, I'm still looking for some clarity. We're still looking for some clarity and some more answers to some of our questions there. Again, hoping that once we get those responses, this document can act as sort of a template moving forward to examine some of the other community programs that are in place. So at this point, we're in a holding pattern. I know the town has other issues they're dealing with, as does Attorney Briggs, certainly. So just trying to be patient while we await those responses to move forward with our work.
Are there any questions for David? Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Okay, Data Best Practices Working Group. Pretty.
Yes, all of you have received a copy of the summary, right? So if you'd like, I can review it, or you can ask me questions. What would you prefer?
Can you review it in 2 minutes?
Okay, yes, I can. So I did
Please.
do a quick, I'd like to do visuals. So I'm going to see if I can, I should have my glasses. Okay, so- let's see. I do my entire screen. Right. That doesn't help. Okay, let's see. I'm going to share. Okay, so this is, as you can see, just quick summary. So we looked at what the charge that the town resolution had, and you can see the first half. We've basically started a lot of the work. And the below is we are in the process of establishing equity targets and measures. So we looked at data set frameworks, looked at definitions. What we acknowledge is our town can be, we all believe, has the capacity to be racially equitable and just. We have a lot going for us. We have a great school system. We have a lot in terms of resources, infrastructure, natural environment. The fact that the town established the task force is amazing in itself. And we have people who are advocating for transparency, which shows a very empowered community. What we learned after reviewing the data was there are disparities. So we could outline that. Also, when we looked at the data, we felt we can't only work with the town, we have to work with the town in the context of the capital district, because we are so dependent on things that happen around us. And I'll show you 2 charts that did that. And we need to focus on authentic community engagement. Our task force, our Work group meetings were small. So from now on, we have to reach out to people we think were not at the meeting. So this is one which kind of tells you about the data. What this is a chart of median household income by race and ethnicity with margin of error. The first chart is the blue line is the whites, and the black line is the medium income for Black. And the shading, which you may be able to see, you see the Black, it has a very large margin of error. But all of us were like really taken aback to see median income for Blacks overtook whites in 2019. And so, and we have been working with the Capital Region Planning Commission. And what we saw was in 2019 also, the number of households estimated, this is the American Community Survey of the Census, dropped by 100. And so we were, one of our members said, did they only survey the higher income Blacks in Niskayuna? So, but this we are so close to when the 2020 census was coming out that the folks at the Planning Commission said, we don't know. This is a survey. Things, sometimes you get people from one side. Let's wait for the 2020 survey. The 2020 details of the 2020 census was supposed to be released on September 30th, but it's got delayed. It's moved to next year. And one of the things I read last year is there is concern. There's always undercount in census, but there is concern there's a significant undercount among Black population, especially among lower income. And there is a request from several organizations that they need to put in corrective figures, after they release the initial figures. So we'll have to wait and see. But generally, see, the Asian income also is generally higher and it's trending higher. Hispanic income is lower as compared to whites. But in 2019, it seems a lot of the household numbers dropped, which is kind of odd. So something we should be looking at. Asian data, as many of you know, is very aggregated. And so you often have to figure out who's not included when you see the incomes going up. So race data is generally, like I said, nuanced. You have to ask a lot of questions. The second chart, which tells you that we need to look beyond Niskayuna, is from the police audit report. You see that of the overall arrests from 2015 to 2020, only 16.8% were Niskayuna residents. The rest were 44% Schenectady, 39% other jurisdictions. And Blacks were unproportionately higher number of arrests. So if you only work in Niskayuna, we're not going to really affect this number. So we have to work with the capital region. So that was our take. And so our thought now is we've seen this data. We need to reach out to the community and gather narratives. And through these narratives, we look at patterns, observe for alignment, assets, gaps. And so our ask of task force members is we'll start with a number of you to see if you'll share your narratives. We're going to write the script and approach you. And then when we talk to you, also let us know who you would like to reach out, for us to reach out to, and ask for narratives. And if you would like to be part of the one collecting narratives. And that, along with the data and our research and literature, will kind of give us a very rich picture of our town. So if you're interested in the data we reviewed, it's there. It'll take a longer presentation. So let us know. And I want to thank Sabrina. She's been there right from the start, nodding her head there, as have several of the work group members. And it's been really helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. And let me just say that I want to commend your working group data and best practices. That was an excellent report.
Thank you.
Excellent. All right. And as a demographer, I get excited when I see numbers. And so I really appreciated that.
I have a question. Preeti, do you see a survey to the town residents in the future at some point?
Because we are an equity task force and our people of BIPOC community in the town is small, we want to make sure we reach out to them. So let's start with the narratives first. And at some point, because if we do a survey, we will get the majority perspective and we also want the minority. So let's be a little focused and we'll check back and see if we need to do a survey.
Okay. Are there any other questions for the Data and Best Practices Committee? All right. let's move on. Are there any additional topics that anyone would like to bring to the floor at this time?
I'm part of the group that came in new, so this is like our second, third meeting. I see the committee has been broken down. There's subgroups here working on different projects. And so I'm just wondering, I don't know who the chairs are of the different committee work groups. So if they could like maybe identify themselves so we can try and connect with them to get, grouped off so we can start to be a part of the work.
Sure. Let's see now. Well, let's start. Public Safety Chair, please identify yourself.
So this is John Lemlin. I'm the head of the co-chair of the Public Safety Working Group. So our scope is to look at the Niskuna Police Department and the Niskuna Town Court and look at processes, procedures, operations that have racial equity or justice implications.
Thank you. Are you finished, John? Community Service Co-Chair David?
So I'm David Amodio, and I'm one of the co-chairs of the Community Service Working Group, along with Liz Paul, and Jamie, Kay, and Angela also serve in this working group, and your participation is most welcome. So please feel free to join us. And all the working groups are, the membership is all outlined on the front page of the agenda every month. So if you wanted to pull that up, in other words, you don't have to write it all down right now if you don't need or want to, but you can certainly pull it up as a document. We're all right there. Thank you.
And finally, data and best practices.
I'm one of the co-chairs, as is Ari, who's on the screen out there. And Sabrina is one of the members. And we are also open to the public. So we have members of the community who are not part of the task force as part of the work group. And you're welcome to join. We just finished one phase of the project and we're moving on to a new phase. So all of us are learning. So it's a good time to join, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm here, Arinka.
There's Ari saying hi.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm doing good, dog.
Good, good. So are there any other questions or any other additional topics that we want to bring to the floor?
So I was kind of listening and thinking about what Priti was saying about collecting the narratives, and I was wondering if there's been any discussion about having a task force social media presence somehow, where we could elicit maybe people would feel more comfortable typing something than answering or something like that. I just thought maybe that would maybe be a good idea.
So we were informed last year when we put through this idea that the task force itself is not allowed to have its own social media.
Okay.
There's an inbox for this task force. So if members of the community have any questions or want to send any comments, they can do it through that. But to your question, we're not allowed to have a social media
Thank
account.
you.
Thanks.
All right. Oh, come on. Okay.
Thinking in terms of just written English, is there any other way to have additional forms of input that is not English dominant? Videos or any other means by which people can communicate, a la social media, even though not allowed, but a way for young people to be able to contribute if they would like to, through video or other means, or deaf people, deaf-blind people, thinking in terms of what's accessible as well, not just the inbox.
Sabrina, quick question. When you say contribute, what did you mean?
They would like to provide narratives either in video format or their spoken language format or Braille format, who knows what format someone would like to contribute in, or they have questions or comments or feedback for the task force that's accessible to them.
I'm wondering if those things can simply be submitted to the inbox for starters, at least as one avenue into our work. Paul, if that would be acceptable, could you please let us know if they're just submissions, so not actually, I don't know if it's actually considered a social media presence, but certainly representation from the community.
No, there's no prohibition against someone submitting something in a different format,
Okay, thank you.
as long as it goes through the town inbox.
Thank you.
Are there any other additional topics or questions?
Doc, I would just like to say that for any new task force members that are here tonight and the original task force members from our first term, if you had not gotten a copy of this brochure, Working Together to End Racism, I have extra copies with me this evening. I caught a few of you during the September meeting and gave it to you, but I didn't know how many to expect, so I brought extra copies with me tonight. I think most of the original task force members have one, but please see me before you leave this evening to get a copy if you like. Thank you. Thanks, Doc.
Thanks, David.
Sure.
Are there any other additional topics that we want to discuss?
Last holiday season, some members of the task force participated in the Toys for Tots. We were trying to provide ethnic toys or toys that would relate more to the minority children. So I just wanted to bring that to the forefront about something to think about, and maybe next month we can talk about it. It's strictly volunteer, but this way, if you want to do something, you have a chance. If you see something, that you want to purchase or have an idea for, we can do that. David was involved and Liz was involved. And our goal was, just because we are a task force trying to have equity, we thought it would be nice if we could obtain toys or items that would reflect those children.
And so, how are these toys distributed?
We went to the town through Toys for Tots.
Yes.
The town offers Toys for Tots.
I see. Okay.
Have they announced that yet this year, that they're participating or not, the town? Does anyone know?
Yes, tomorrow I heard on the news that the Harley Davidson people are coming to Niskayuna to do the kickoff. So I'm assuming it's starting.
Oh, okay. Good to know. So we should keep our eyes and ears open for that.
So now, who in the task force coordinated that effort, by the way?
I think, Sona, you sent an email out to us and we responded
Oh.
individually and said, we're happy to contribute.
I
And
see.
on our own individually, we all dropped things off here at the town on the day that was arranged by the town.
Then in such case, would you be open to coordinating this year's efforts?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Then we don't have to discuss that next meeting. The decision has been made. Let's move forward. Who can argue against Toys for Tots? So let's bring in those ethnic toys and make a contribution. And I thank you in advance for your service.
Yeah, thank you, Sona.
So, are there any other questions, comments, or testimonials? Well, hearing none, can we entertain a motion to adjourn?
I
Motion
will
to
motion.
adjourn.
Can we entertain a second?
I will second it.
All right. It's been moved and properly seconded. We adjourned this meeting. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed.
Hi.
All right, thank you.
I'm a little later.
And I want to thank everyone for coming. We certainly appreciate the time you've invested in the task force this evening. And we look forward to hopefully seeing you again next month. Thank you very much.